you how to do metric conversions, particularly conversions between liquid measurements in the metric system. But before we get into those conversions, I kind of want to give you just a quick overview of what the metric system is. So the metric system is a system of measurement, as you can see here, in what looks like this kind of complicated diagram, but I promise it's not too complicated as we walk through it. And it's a really convenient system of measurement because everything is based on tens. You can see here, if you go from something larger to something smaller, so largest things are in the top left, the smallest thing is in the bottom right, and we get smaller and smaller as we go from left to right, or vice versa. As we go from right to left, we get bigger and bigger and bigger. In order to find these numbers that are smaller, or these units that are smaller or larger, we have to, when we're going from large to small, you'll see we have to multiply by 10. And that should make some sense because if we have one of something and we're trying to find out how many, say, milliliters are in 1 liter, you'll recognize, well, a milliliter is smaller than a liter, so there's going to be more of them that you need to equal that 1 liter. So that kind of makes sense why you have to multiply. You have to get a bigger number, even though the number represents something smaller. And vice versa. If you want to go from something smaller to something bigger, well, instead of multiplying, you have to divide to find your answer. So with the metric system, we start with the base unit, and there's 3 base units really that we use. We have grams, we have meters, and we have liters. And today we're going to talk about liters. Excuse me. We're going to talk about liters because I want to talk about converting between liquid measurements. So if I were to ask you, if I were to show you actually, 1 liter, that would be this section right here, because a liter is a base unit, and the base unit just means 1. And we wanted to find out, well, how many milliliters are in 1 liter? Well, here's our base unit, and all the way down here is milli, and you can see underneath it says milli means 0.001, or milli means thousandths, 1,000th, centi means 1/100th, deci means 1/10th. Okay, so a milli is 1,000th smaller than a base unit, and you can actually see how that works out with the multiplication right here, because 10 times 10, well, that would be 100. And then if we took that 100 and we multiplied it by 10 again, we would get 1,000. So you can see how a milli is 1,000 times smaller than a base unit. So 1 liter would be how many milliliters? Well, it would be 1,000 milliliters. Okay, that is your conversion. Or you could also say 1 multiplied by what is going to give us 1,000? Well, 1 multiplied by 1,000. So you can think about it as, in order to convert from liters to milliliters, we have to multiply by 1,000. Now that's a really quick overview, and I want to do some examples with you so it makes a little bit more sense. So I want you to imagine, let's imagine we had a couple numbers. So let's say we had 7 liters, 12 liters, 75 liters, and we could even say, let's say we had 123 liters. Okay, and we're going to convert all of these to milliliters. Well, the conversion is really simple because we are working in the metric system. And the metric system's job is to make these conversions as simple as possible for us. Well, we said, what is What is the rule for multiplying these conversions? We know, remember, a milliliter is 1,000 times smaller than a liter. So what do we need to do then in order to find how many milliliters are in all of these liters? Well, we said 1 milliliter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. Well, if I have 7 liters, excuse me, I just made an error. 1 liter, 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. Well, doesn't matter if it's 1 liter or 7 liters. I'm still just going to multiply it by 1,000. Well, that's going to be simple because I know my extended multiplication facts. 7 times 1,000 is the same as 7 times 1, which is 7. And then I'm going to add my zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3. So I need to add 3 zeros. So 7 liters converted to milliliters is 7,000. 12 liters converted to milliliters. No different. 12 times 1,000. 12 times 1 is 12 with 1, 2, 3 zeros. 12,000. Okay, let's do the next one. 75 liters is how many milliliters? It's going to be 75,000. Okay, and last but not least, 123 times 1,000. Well, 123 times 1 is 123. Let's add our zeros. 1, 2, 3. 123 liters is 123,000 milliliters. The conversions from liters to milliliters is that simple. Okay, I do want to show you one last thing real quick because this is something we didn't talk about. When we have a number, say we have the number 12, and we want to multiply that number by 10 to see what we'd get. Okay. The great thing about the metric system is it's a system that uses decimals. So here's our decimal. Okay. And say we had 12, let's see, I'm trying to think. Let's say we had 12, let's just say we had 12. And we want to know what's 12 times 10. When you multiply a number with a decimal in it, in order to get the number, the new number, depending on what you multiply by, you have to move the decimal to the right. So when we multiply by 10, we move the decimal to the right one position, and we put that new decimal there. So our new number is now 120, which is what 12 times 10 is. It's 120. Okay. If we had a number such as, let's just do 12 again, and let's say, so 12.0, and let's say we want to multiply it by 100. We want to say, well, what is 12 times 100? You would do the same thing, except, well, now we're multiplying by 100, so 100 means 2 place values. So we'd go 1, and we'd go 2. And we have to add a 0 to that place value. Okay, so now our new number is 1,200. And the reason I show you this is because if I say to you, let's convert 8.4 liters to milliliters, and you do the same process we've been doing, if you just do 8.4 times 1,000, well, you're going to get something funny. You're going to say, well, 8 times 4 times 1, well, that's 8.4. and you're going to I'm going to add 3 zeros, and you're going to say, wait a second, 8.4000, well, that's just the same as 8.4. That's not right. Okay, so when we do 8.4, we want to multiply it by, because we know the conversion is 1,000. If we multiply it by 1,000, that would be moving the place value 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to fill in my zeros. Okay, and here's our new place value. So what number do we have now? We have 8,400. Okay, so that's why it's also good to know this way, how to move your decimal in your numbers, depending on what you're multiplying by. Because if you don't know how to do that, sometimes you might get tripped up on a problem that has a decimal in it, such as this one. Okay, so let's do one last thing, and let's look at how we would solve a number problem, or not a number problem, a word problem. Okay, so let's solve a word problem. So it says Mr. Solomon's class kept track of how much water they used to water class plants. The first week they used 24 liters. I'm going to circle my number, okay, because I know we're going to do something with 24 liters. And the second week they used 17 liters. Okay. How many more milliliters did they use the first week than the second week? So I'm going to also underline my question because I want to make sure I know what I'm answering, which is how many more milliliters did we use the first week than the second week? Okay, well, when we want to find the difference between something, okay, I used 24 the first week. Okay, well, actually, let me write that in the red. I used 24 the first week, and I used 17 the second week. And I want to know, well, how much more did I use? How much more did I use in the first week? I need to find the difference. And the operation to find the difference, that's going to be subtraction. Okay, that's going to be subtraction. So 24 minus 17, we're going to cross out our 2, make it a 1. Okay, make that a 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. Okay, so I used 7 liters more the first week. However, do we want it in liters? We do not. We want to know in milliliters. So we need to do some conversions. The great thing is we know how to convert. We know that in 1 liter, we have 1,000 milliliters. So we know in 7 liters, we're going to multiply by 1,000. 7 times 1,000 is 7,000. How many more millimeters did they use the first week than the second week? We used 7,000 more milliliters.